Now, the second part of the DUI process that most people aren't aware of is the administrative part, which is a separate and distinct part of the DUI arrest situation. Basically, when you're arrested, as we talked about previously, there's a judicial process, there's a court process, but there's also a separate civil process or administrative process that deals solely with whether or not they're going to suspend your license. And by them, I mean the Washington Department of Licensing. There's a separate hearings officer who ultimately will determine whether or not your right to drive in the state of Washington will be impacted by your DUI situation. And typically, by law, those hearings have to occur within 60 days of date of notification, which is typically date of arrest. However, the client can choose to waive that 60-day limit and set out the hearing, in my experience, usually another 30 days or so, give or take. And the hearings officers will conduct a hearing via telephone, and you have the right to submit evidence and testimony, and the hearings officers will make a ruling to determine whether or not your license or right to drive in Washington will be suspended or not. Now, one thing that's very important to understand is that people who come in here from out of state typically are like, well, I'm not from Washington. I don't care if they suspend me in Washington. It's not going to affect me. This is not true. There's an interstate compact regarding driver's licenses, and 48 of the 50 states have signed it. And so you may be an Oregon resident or an Idaho resident or a California resident with an Idaho, Oregon, or California license. But if you're suspended here, all those states are obligated to take action upon being notified. So being suspended in Washington can have just as dramatic effect on your license as if you were suspending your home state. So do not ignore it. If you want the right, if you want to continue driving, you should and must, in my opinion, request a license hearing. There's no guarantee you're going to win, but if you don't, you are guaranteed to be suspended.